Welcome to Between the Covers, the show for readers, writers, and lovers of books. I'm Stephanie, and I'm so excited today to be joined by two powerful women. They are authors. They are out there for the author community in a million ways. And I have been so fortunate they were both contributors on Launchpad, the countdown to marketing your book. If you haven't grabbed your copy yet, Launchpad, the countdown to marketing your book, is the third in a series that started with the countdown to writing your book, followed by the countdown to publishing your book, and then finally the countdown to marketing your book. Some of our contributors had something to say on a bunch of different fronts because they are involved in so many different ways. And we're so thrilled to have gotten such amazing people on these books. So if you are writing, publishing, or marketing a book, you'll definitely want to grab a copy. Our first guest today, Erika Lance, has been on at least two of the books. Erika, is it three? I lose track.
It's two. I was on the publishing and the marketing, which was
publishing
amazing.
and marketing. We missed you on the writing one, but obviously, from the fact that I'm sitting here with an author's accountability planner, and I know you're quite the writer besides publisher and marketer, but I am just so in love with this book that I think I'm like on Amazon on a different screen ordering mine as we speak. Erika, in addition to being an author, publisher, marketer, also is one of the heads of the Horsemen Publications. That's a fabulous name for a group that does amazing things. So welcome, Erika Lance. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh, thrilled to have you. Always thrilled. I've had you on as an author, and we're talking just about your writing. And I know you were on last time as a publisher, and now I'm thinking you should have been on that other book, but we were kind of full. I don't know.
Well, I felt very lucky when Grace Salmon reached out to me and she's like, "Do you want to contribute?" And I'm like, "Yes, I have so much I'll say, but you decide if you want me there." Like, I get very excited, very passionate. I'm like, I have all the words.
No, you are super passionate. I loved every chapter that you wrote. The one that you wrote for this one, shameless self-promotion. Can you just give us a little hint in why you chose that title? Because that's just fabulous, and I love alliteration, so I'm right there with it. But some tips for us.
Thank you. Yes, I chose that title because I think one of the biggest things authors forget is that they're celebrities. The moment you publish a book, you're a celebrity. Even if you don't believe that, literally, legally, you're a celebrity. It changes all kinds of laws on defamation and things like that, but you're in the public spotlight. And authors tend to, I think, a lot of times be introverts and stuff like that, but you have to put yourself out there. We're not in a place where your book is magically going to float into readers' hands. And if you don't take it under yourself to go do your own promotion and be shameless about it. That doesn't mean you have to be rude, but be willing to be out there in all kinds of different ways that I think a lot of authors don't think about when it comes to marketing themselves, because the top two ways books are sold is word of mouth and author platform. That makes up for 65% of sales. And this has been true for the last 12 years. Those are the two ways that authors sell things. It's not ads and spending a bunch of money on things. It's getting your platform up there and being willing to get word of mouth on your book. So
I am so glad you said that, because that sounds so actionable. That really puts it into, my lap, everyone's lap as an author. Like, I can do this. She gave me the keys to the kingdom. Just go out and do it. And you're so right about that.
Yes. And I think one thing, especially now, because now we're in a whole place where artificial intelligence is there. And that is, I make this reference a lot of times, then people are, I think, blown away. So I am an author of nonfiction and fiction, two different fictions. I run a publishing house. I do a podcast about authors. So I am entrenched in books and authors. I never see an ad for a book on Facebook. They never present me with an ad. But when I look up Sasquatch purses for my other podcast, I will see 4,000 ads for Sasquatch purses. I mean, it's true. Like, I can't get rid of the Sasquatch purse ads. So we're in a place where you may think your audience is seeing something you're paying money for, but they're not. seeing something you're paying money for. And there are so many other ways to promote yourself that don't cost an arm and a leg, especially for authors, because a lot of authors are doing this not as their full-time gig, which we all want to do, but it is their second job. So you have to have a way to do it where you're not just sending out money, because I often have the term, I like the term, the juice is worth the squeeze. So if you pay money for ads or other things, how many books do you have to sell to make up that money? Like, are you going to sell that many books for what you're spending that money on? And there's so many ways you can do it without having to do that. But you have to be shameless about it. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And I'm not asking the author, I'm asking the celebrity to go do that, because celebrities do it all the time.
Oh, I am so glad we are all celebrities, whether you like it or not. And you're absolutely right. And I have one author I work with, books, probably sold a dozen on Amazon. She has sold thousands out of the trunk of her car. When I read your title, Shameless Self-Promotion, this one author just floated to the top of my mind, because I tell you, she has never left a grocery store without selling books to those people she's met there. And
one of the authors, you say the trunk of your car, one of the authors and one of the people that is works with me at Four Horsemen, she had the joke because she got stopped at TSA for one of those random checks, and she was making a joke about it. And she made a joke about putting it in her next story, and the people there in line with her got the book, literally bought her book when she described what she was going to put into the next one. They're like, what did you, this series? And she said it, and they bought it there. You have no idea. Like I always say, you may be whatever in real life. I'm using quotations, real life. But if, say you're a nurse, when people ask you what you do, you're not a nurse, you're an author. I'm an author, I'm a writer. And they'll go, oh, really? What do you write? 99.9% of the time, they'll ask that question. Business card, psh, here's what I write. Here's how you found my books. I write horror, whatever it is that you write. You'd be amazed how quickly you can grow your audience that way if you're willing to be that first.
Absolutely. And when authors are, placing a book order, I know with me, and they say, how many should I order? I always say you should have at least 20 books in the trunk of your car at all times, because you just don't know.
You don't. And another trick an author does is they go write at coffee shops, but they take a copy of one of their books and they set it next to them as they're writing in the coffee shop, because people will go, oh, what's that? Whoa, cha-ching. Here's a book. I'll autograph it for you. They've sold a ton of books just sitting in coffee shops with their book next to them.
And then when that one gets sold, they pull another one out of there.
Yeah, they do. And they're like, whoops, here we go. Next one. Like, it's easier than you think if you're willing to get past any thought that anybody is judging you for any of this, because they're not.
I love that. Now, you have just given a whole lot of us permission to rise to our celebrity status and go for it. You're absolutely right. Well, tell me a little bit about, and I'm loving this, the author's accountability planner, because so many people, yes, a million people wrote a book and say, how do I get it out there? And you start by reading Erika's chapter on shameless self-promotion. But others say, how do I keep going? How do I get started? How can I make sure that I do this every day? So tell us about the planner.
Oh, I would love to. So we wrote the Author's Accountability Planner. We're going into our 4th year of it, and writing is hard. And a lot of people do not put, if you want to be a writer, it's a job. You have to treat it like a job. You have to make time for it. But you also have to understand how much you can produce, because people can go, I'm going to write 4 books this year. And I know plenty of authors that can do that. But what does that take? How many words? How many words per day are you going to write? What time do you have set aside for it? And how do you keep yourself motivated and going? Because it's such a solitary thing in a way, is we're creating a community of people with our planner. And it's something you write in. It's something you keep track of what you're doing, because you can also do look backs and go, what am I spending my time doing? And we included muses. We have 4 muses. We have an architect, a researcher, a cheerleader, and a taskmaster to keep you on track of what you can do for every single week. And we have activity grids to keep track of monthly, because I think we have any other job, there's a quantifiable metrics that we track for what we're doing. So as an author, if you don't have that, you're not going to be able to keep going. And some people kind of get lost. Imposter syndrome is such a real thing for authors. It's so easy for them to think that people don't want their books, don't want their work, they're not good enough, stuff like that. And when it's a solitary thing and nobody's over your shoulder going, are you stuck? What's happening? What's going on? This is that companion to help you do that. And it includes an online community on Facebook called the Accountable Authors Group. So you have other writers that you can talk to about what's going on and what you're doing so that you can reach your goal, whatever your goal is as an author.
That's fantastic. You're so right. We need accountability. Nobody's saying to me every day, did you do what you were supposed to do? And having not only the book, but the Facebook group.
Yes, the community, because the entire reason I started for Horsemen Publications in 2020 was I felt, and I know you have a similar thing, the publishing world is not great to authors. It's not great to the creatives. And you'd get a painter, and this is an analogy I make. If you had a painter that painted a beautiful beach sunset, you would never go, can I have that? But I really need it to be a snowy forest at dawn. Can you do that? Like, you would never ask them to do that, but we are constantly as authors asked to not have our work be where it is and not have the support and how to do things. Like, I love the Launchpad books for this reason. This is how you write your book. This is how you get your book published. Here are your avenues. This is how you market your book, because a lot of authors forget that marketing part. Like, they're like, oh, I published my book, look. And then there's that little thing that creeps in going, how is anybody going to get that book? So the accountability planner just goes hand in hand with how do you write that book and how do you become successful as an author, however you measure that success, and being able to get to that point of getting a book published. Because I think we can all raise our hands and say, how many people go, oh, I'm going to write a book, and how many people actually write a book?
Absolutely. There's a statistic I'm always tossing around, which sounds crazy, but I believe it. Book Expo had done a survey, and 90% of those surveyed said that they want to write a book, that it was one of those items on their bucket list. And I believe it, because every time I walk into a room of strangers and I'm introduced as, a publisher or whatnot, I am surrounded by people. I'm writing a book. I wrote a book. It's in my drawer. It's in my head. Everybody wants to write a book. Yet the percentage that actually crossed that finish line is like this. And that's why that accountability planner is so amazing.
It's true. And we happen to be in a field where there's never going to be, it's not like buying a car or buying a blender where you're only going to buy so many cars or so many blenders in your lifetime. Romance readers, what do they read? Between 7 and 10 books a week? Like, that's a real statistic. And if you don't feed this machine, most of the people don't reread books. They find new books. So it's never like you're going to run out of audience. Get your book done. Write your book. Even if you're telling a story other people have told, one of my very good friends who's a PhD in English literature always says, even if you're writing a Twilight story about vampires and a girl falling in love with vampires, that story has never been told from you. There is an audience for it. Tell your version of that story, because people want to hear that version. Whatever that version is of any kind of story. Don't go, oh, a lot of people have written about werewolves. If you have a werewolf story, write it, because it's a story nobody's heard before.
Absolutely. And all of those, I'll call them famous books, the ones that about a werewolf or a witch or a wizard, it wasn't the first book that was ever written by, they were joining the troops of many other werewolf and wizard books as well. So
exactly. And a lot of those books didn't take off from the first book that was written. It took gaining an audience momentum. And trust me, it wasn't because they were with a big publisher.
No.
That's not the origin stories of a lot of these books. So you have a story to tell, you can write it. I mean, look, at least in fiction, we're not redoing the same movie for the 800th time. Like, I love Spider-Man, don't get me wrong, but how many Spider-Mans are there? Because they keep writing the same movie again.
Yes.
And so Instead, let's write a new version of that story. Let's have new heroes. Let's have new things happening, but from whatever voice you want to say it from.
Oh, Erika, as always, you are so inspiring. You make me want to, well, run out and buy your book, but then run out and write like 10 others, like romance books, because was not aware that they were reading between 7 and 10 books a week. That's
Oh yeah, no, romance, paranormal romance, even young adult. If you think about when we were younger and we had Kindles and we didn't have Kindles, but we could go to the library. We'd get 6
You're
books
right.
out of the library, read them all, take them all back the next week and start again.
You're absolutely right. I just never ran the numbers. And when you run those numbers, folks, go out and write some books. There's a lot of people who are hungry for your books out there.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Oh, well, as always, such a thrill to have you. And once you do write those books, our next guest, Annie McDonald, is the author of her chapter is How to Get More Book Reviews. Annie is like a professional book reviewer at this point. I've never heard of one before her, but she is absolutely it. TheWriteReview.com, but also has Annie's song, Dandelions, Dreams, and Dogs. And I'm so excited to have Annie McDonald. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh,
I'm so honored to be part of this Launchpad series.
My gosh. And book reviews, when your chapter got included, that is huge, because I know we all have that, they call it social proof, that we only buy things that have a whole lot of stars next to them, because we figure, oh, all these other people must have liked it, it must be good. So book reviews are so critical to people.
People will be at Sam's Club and look at Amazon reviews to decide which book they want. That happens all the time.
I've actually done that in stores. It wasn't about a book. Even if I was like shopping for a television and it was on sale at Target, and I'm like, well, this one's on sale, this one's $50 more, let me pull up the reviews and see if it was worth the sale price, because now I don't know those people who wrote the review, but I believe them.
Well, you also believe them if everything's not all 5 stars. Like when it has, there has to be some people that are not the biggest fan, right? Because all humans are different. Right, as a professional book reviewer, you want to always write a positive review, but you learn how to do that I have like the bus theory. I have all these different theories, ways to write a book review, but I might not necessarily say, oh my gosh, I was in love with the book. It was, I gave it to my friend Erika, and she loved it because she loves romance, and I'm not really into romance. I mean, I am, but I'm just saying, it's different when you are, quote unquote, we're all doing air quotes.
I love that. Absolutely.
Professional book reviewer. But I think that all just started because I started doing workshops on how to do book reviews, and people were going crazy.
Yes, you dial me back, because you are the only person in my circle I get to meet writers and marketers and publishers, and then there's that one person in her own little box there, Annie McDonald, professional book reviewer. So tell me about that.
Well, what happened? I entered a contest with Elle magazine, kind of as a joke. It was, I didn't think I'd ever had the possibility of being chosen, and they were looking for 14 book reviewers for their magazine, and they said, just send us in a book review. I reviewed Pride and Prejudice, one of the best books out there, and I just like, oh, let me review that book. So I reviewed it, and they wrote me back that I was one of the 14 chosen. So I did that for a couple of years, and I learned a lot there, because we always had to give 2 positive and 1 not necessarily negative, but like one thing we might not have liked about it, because sometimes even what you don't like about it, someone will say, oh, but I love that.
Oh, okay.
So I learned value in like all kinds of reviews. So, we had to find something sometimes on one of the books. So I learned all these different ways, but then print reviews went out of business and everything started going online, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I talked to Emery Nieves, she's a publicist in Queens, and she said, go learn how to run a review blog from Samantha March. She's the best out there. So I said, okay, but you have to apply to work because you don't get paid. You have to apply and everything.
Okay.
And I got accepted, and I started learning from her. And then I said, okay, Samantha, I have my wings. I can fly on my own. And all the time I was calling everything the right review, because I wanted to have that name.
Yeah.
Like how you have between the covers, like
right. You wanted the right review.
it means a lot to you. It's like your baby, you're naming your baby. And I wanted the right review because I was trying to tell everybody, write your review.
Gotcha.
Write the review. Like that's what it's all about.
Wow.
After you read
So
and
you trained with the best. I love that.
I did. I mean, she was so serious. She signed a contract just to write a review on her blog. You couldn't put a review somewhere without her permission. Meaning, if I read a different book than I read for her, I had to have her permission, because anything I wrote, she's writing. So I learned a lot about like how to do things as far as book reviews go and how important they are. I was doing it just for the fun of it, and to say, hey, look what I'm doing for Elle magazine, and here's my review, and oh my god, look at that. I was so excited. But then it just became part of who I was. I woke up every day, I read a book every day, and I interviewed an author every night.
You see what I just said about how many books are read? Right there.
Gosh, right there.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Well, like how I got up at 4. I have dogs. I'm in dog rescue, so 4 to 10 book is done. But like you were saying, it's everybody seeing the book. When I wasn't an author, I was carrying an author's book around in a see-through bag. So women love to say, oh, what's that book about? They always want to chit chat about a book. If I went somewhere by myself, I put it out on the table, even though I'd read it, I've reviewed it. It might have been my best book of the year, and that's what I did. But yeah,
always promoting others. I think that's fabulous.
Yes.
Well, let's promote you for a moment. Tell us a little bit about Annie's song, Dandelions, Dreams, and Dogs. Tell us about
well, that's funny. Two years ago, speaking of imposter syndrome, I took a class for imposter syndrome, and I hadn't written a book yet. I had a poem published and an essay, but I said, I want to learn how to come in knowing I'm an author, not dealing with this imposter syndrome, because it seemed terrifying to me. Because when I interviewed authors, they always spoke of this imposter syndrome. So I wrote this I Am a Writer poem. We all had to write that poem at the end. And it's kind of stuck with me. And then I started taking a class with Diane Zinna. She's an author as well and a teacher on Grief Writing Sundays. So I would write essays and poems. And you wouldn't believe what you grieve that you don't even think. It could be, oh gosh, now I have gray, like just different things you're grieving. It doesn't have to be like the loss of your friend or something only. So every week it was turning into different things. And I was reading it to someone like you, Stephanie, a publisher. Every day I called and said, let me read you my essay, not thinking it was ever going to get published, just because I was so hyper and excited. And they kept getting better and better. So she said, that's it. We're publishing all of these essays and poems. And so it became Annie's song, because I added music to it with QR codes.
Nice.
So each song and essay has a song to it. And so people can experience the book, not just read it. But, I have stiff person syndrome, like Celine Dion just announced.
Like Dion, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
And she announced that like 3 days before my book was released.
No.
And I thought, I have to share with the world what stiff person is. And then not to laugh, but then it was like, oh my gosh, Celine Dion has it. And now I'm popping out a book. But it's, I'm at the terminal end stage of it. And I know she is too, if it's in her vocal cords. Because when it gets to certain points, that's how they decide the stages of it.
Okay.
And so I had to have a book come out. I really wanted to have a book come out before, and I love my dogs. I'm in dog rescue. It's all One Love Dog Rescue gets some of the money, 2 writing centers, and the Stiff Person Research Foundation. They're all getting a piece of the pie. Hopefully there's going to be a big pie at some point.
Oh, well,
But I'm getting a lot of I am getting a lot of good feedback on it. But I have to tell you, I was at my doctor's office getting my infusion, and a woman said to me, did you write Annie's song? And I said, yes. And she said, well, I just moved here from California. I packed my car up when I read your book to come see your doctor because I knew I had stiff person syndrome. And she was there getting her first infusion. So I said, okay, done. Because you always say,
yes,
you want to change one life. You want to change, you want to change someone's mind about something. That's so right. I felt like, I mean, I was, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. I say that to authors all the time. You just need to touch that one life. I know that you will, but we don't always get to.
You don't. Oh, that's exactly right. If I wasn't there, I never would have found out. And if I wasn't gabbing, where she got like the little hint that it was me, wow, she never would have asked me. So
I just got chills, Annie. I just got chills that she packed up her stuff in California.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I drove to New York.
Drove to New York because of your.
Well, it's a 1 in a million disease, so it's very hard to be diagnosed and everything. So I understand what you people sometimes take 7, 8 years to find out that they have it. So it's yeah, I was very humbled. Always humbled. Like I would, being asked to do this, to write for this book was very humbling to me because of all these famous authors and famous people with podcasts like me. But I'm like, I feel like I'm just in Facebook land. I'm in Facebook land. So I'm not out on YouTube and all of that.
But you're not just in Facebook land.
Going that way.
Oh, no, you're definitely not just in Facebook.
I know, not anymore. Not anymore. I seem to be going a little further, and I'm trying to learn how to make TikToks. So I'm doing stupid ones with my dogs. But
love.
I know that's true, but I want to learn. But I try to stick a book, like the dog holding a book.
Oh, I like I love that. I'll subscribe to your TikTok channel. Absolutely. That is just an amazing.
I would.
About your book and
thank you. I do want to say. I'm sorry.
No. I'm still getting chills over your book touching someone so deeply and life-changing.
I know everyone was like, "What?" Like everyone, the nurses and everything. But I just want to say that, I think reading this about getting more book reviews is so important because authors have the hardest time with this. And now I know it's true. And if it's hard for me, that's got to be pretty bad because I've been able to get book reviews for authors for years. Right. But, I really think that, having a book tour is really important, and planning it like right before your book comes out, because those are guaranteed reviews. And if you have the right person that's running it, they have really wonderful bookstagrammers that are doing this for you and getting you reviews automatically, which is just wonderful. And I think also interacting with other authors on their newsletters, like rotating around with like giveaways of each other's books and asking for reviews, and like shameless promotion. I put a postcard in every book that goes out that says, don't forget to write a review. If you liked it or not, just write the review. So
it's huge. And if we're talking about, there are people that are reading a book a day. Now we know that Annie reads a book a day and reviews it, but how many?
I did it last year when I was writing a book.
Well, You were that.
But for 19 I was, yeah.
But how many people are not reviewing books? You know, it's just so important. You're right.
Well, there's
So,
different steps. You can ask your readers, if you're an author, to say, hey, this weekend, all I want you to do is go and give me 5 adjectives on Amazon and Goodreads. Come back here and show it to me, and I'll be giving away whatever. Because you're not giving cash for it. So you're able to do stuff like that.
right,
And
right.
anyone will do 5 adjectives. And that's how everyone that are now bloggers, I started them with 5 adjectives in a class. So, because people are scared to write reviews.
Right.
That's the thing too. So you have to kind of hold their hand through doing it.
No, and I think the 5 adjectives is a great idea because people are so afraid to write publicly because there are so many other people who criticize what people write. Oh, you had a misspelling in this,
Exactly. I like this book. I think you should buy it.
Right.
That's it. You don't have to write a big song and dance. Plenty of us are doing that. I like write another story, So yeah, I think that, and even just something small to start off with is wonderful. And now people start getting used to it and they get excited, and they start writing a lot of reviews, and then they're carrying around books in their bag, and the whole world is their oyster as far as book reviews go. I think it's a wonderful thing. When I became disabled, having authors send me books and wanting me to review or take pictures of the book next to my face was hysterical. The Mountain Sing, the book The Mountain Sing with Nung Fong Kwai Mai.
Okay.
She reaches out to me from Vietnam and she's like, I want you to take a picture. I'm sending you my book and I want a picture of you next to your face, my book next to your face. I was like,
no way.
I didn't even realize that that's what I always did.
Oh my God.
Everybody has their shtick. That was my shtick. And that's when I realized.
So you have a house filled with books. You can't even walk around. You have so many books.
That's true. I have my guest room's full. We're making another room and we have a library.
Oh.
So I have a lot of books. Very hard for me to get rid of one.
No, I get
I'll pass one on, but I'll beg them to remember to give it back.
Well, you are such a huge inspiration, not just in your writing yourself and what you're dealing with and how you're influencing others, but in reminding us that we can help each other. And this is a great way to support. I always say the author community is just wonderful because in general, I have felt so much love and support from all of the people I've met, but this is a great tangible way. Like, go out and write a review, folks. That's a tangible way of sending somebody I got you here.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. If we could just inspire one person tonight, go write a review, send somebody something. That's just fabulous. It would really, really help them. And
every night I write a review. Write a review because I'm backlogged from writing the books. Because I didn't stop reading. So, I can admit I don't write them all the time right away, but they get there and then everyone's very excited because I try to make them worth the wait. Make them good.
I'm sure. So tell me about next projects. Erika, what's next on your docket?
Oh, wow. That is a long list. So we have, of course, the Authors Accountability for 2024 coming out. We're releasing world building guides in all the different genres. So it's starting with a general world building guide, and then we're releasing some other ones for that.
Like fantasy and sci-fi and like that kind of thing.
Yes, because I think
Gilmore Girl.
Yeah, exactly. Horror, romance, even. I think some authors can get stuck because they forget that what they should write about is like a gigantic glacier even though the book is only the very top of the glacier that they're writing about, right? And so if you want to build, you have to build a world around what you're doing. Even if it's in the modern world, you still have to build a world. And there are tricks to doing it and ways to keep track of what you're doing that are make sense and make it easy. And so we're creating a book. It comes out September 1st called The World Building Guide, and it's the general world building guide. So for any sort of book series, you can use that. And then I have a horror series that's coming out in, I think it launches in September on Yonder, which is a web app called, the first one is called Jump. And it is about a girl who can slip into what they call meat jackets, which are people's bodies. And there's a whole thing about doing that. And it's very sci-fi and it's horror.
Meat
and it's
jackets.
Yep.
That alone is scary. Yes.
Yeah.
Woo!
I don't generally write stories that have happy endings. So there's that. There's
You came up
feature.
with meat jackets by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And then
I want to be your friend.
you know, 1 degree of separation. You can't kill anybody 1 degree of separation from
That's
you.
right.
It's a
I
rule.
definitely don't want to be your enemy, that's for sure.
And then in January, I do another podcast called Eerie Travels, where it's like folk tales and hauntings and cryptids and weird stuff. So our first book is releasing from that in January, which is Eerie Travels in the Tampa Bay area. So it's a little guidebook that you can keep in your pocket and like make notes and stuff like that about going to see all the places.
Terrific. Do you live in the Tampa Bay
Oh
area?
wow.
No, I used to. I now live in North Carolina, so the next one after that is going to be North Carolina. But me and my co-host travel around and go, you know, and hear stories from people, because there's all kinds of stuff out there that just we call it paranormal, that we just don't have an explanation for right now. So I have that, and then I have a book in my Randy Michaels, which is my erotica series under Dahlia Lance, coming out in I think it's June of next year, which is book 3, and that is called The Training of the Tramp.
That's why you need a journal, you see, because you have so much going on.
And then I have all the publications. I have about 120 authors now, so we're up to like 500 books released since 2020.
That's just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
was on a
Congratulations.
ghost tour in New
You're
Orleans
welcome.
years ago, and they, let us down around the French Quarter to see the ghosts or to hear the stories. And they,
There's ghosts there. Yeah.
they plied us with free hurricanes. So after a while, I definitely saw ghosts. That's for sure.
Yes, New Orleans is one of those places that we're gonna just do a book on some of that, but mainly the stuff around, because a lot of people have written books about some of the famous things down there.
Right.
But there is, when you go talk to the people, especially the families that have lived in these areas for a really long period of time, they will tell you all of the stuff that happened and what they familiarly remember the history to be, that maybe history books, things like that, have sort of pretended like don't exist anymore. But they'll be like, yeah, let me tell you about this story. And so there's so many amazing little things that you can do little road trips on.
I love that. I love that.
And people love maps that read books. We love maps, even if it's of a place that we can't go visit. Like you were talking about the world building, people love, I mean, we were just talking about that last night.
Oh no, I agree. I'm a map person. Years ago, when I first read the Tolkien trilogy, I was looking at that map of Mordor every single page. I still have it memorized. I love a good map.
Yes.
Sure. Annie, what's next on your docket?
Well, I've been working on book 2 because I have a lot more to say. So it's going to be something along the lines of Annie's song, very similar. And then I'm actually working on a fictional story about the spirit of St. Louis, and it's going to be like a time travel story because it took off from Roosevelt Field. So I'm going to have it where it took off from Roosevelt Field, but he runs into a woman who's at Roosevelt Field Mall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's going to be so cool if I can make it work. But I'm going to try so hard because it's just a really cool story. And I'm not generally, I don't think so creative, but I found a pin that my stepmother gave me. And it was a model airplane of of that what did I just say it was called?
Spirit of St. Louis?
I can't remember. Spirit of St. Louis. Spirit of St. Louis, yes. And it was a lapel pin. And I was holding it, and all of a sudden it was like, all this stuff was going off in my head. I said, oh my gosh, I've become an author.
Yes.
Everything I see is a story. So I want to do that. And I'm trying to get back to all of my shows because I have 8 of them.
Wow.
At the Right Review, for that different authors can come on and do by themselves.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow. Okay, we got some busy people here. Now, Annie, if you have some trouble with that new thing you're writing about the Spirit of St. Louis, I know a really good book on world building that's coming out in September.
I will have to check that out. Yeah, I mean, it's like, and I was already taking that off tick. I need to get the journal.
Oh yeah,
I love journals.
We all need to sit here and take notes of each other on what's going on. Absolutely. Let me just remind all of our viewers and make sure I get all of this right. Certainly, if you haven't yet gotten your copy of Launchpad, the countdown to marketing your book, this is the 3rd book in the series following Launchpad, the countdown to writing your book, which has over a dozen amazing authors, writing coaches from around the world who were giving tips on everything from point of view to scene study to all sorts of things. The countdown to writing your book is just amazing. The countdown to publishing your book that I know Erika is on outlines lots of different methods to get your book published. The world has changed. The publishing world is changing literally minute by minute. And it's a wonderful resource so that you can see what path is going to be best for your book. And there's wonderful people in that book as well who are all professionals in the field, and all of their contact information is right there. So you can find Erika and other publishers right there so that you can meet them and get your book published. And then finally, the final book in that series, the countdown to marketing your book, includes certainly Erika Lance and Annie McDonald, plus about a dozen other authors and book marketers talking about everything from branding to social media to Facebook to everything that you want to get for your marketing for your book. So you'll definitely want to grab a copy of that. The Author's Accountability Planner. We're only halfway through the year, so grab 2023. It's not too late. Absolutely, it's not too late. Grab 2023 and then put in a pre-order for 2024 so you could start off your year just right. This is an amazing book. I don't know if any of you are juggling as many different genres and books as author Erika Lance, but even if you're just juggling one, it's going to be a help. Erika is a powerhouse. So as you've met her here, please visit her at erikalance.com, sign up for her newsletter and such so that you can get all of her information delivered to you and you don't miss a thing. Whether you're looking for scary stuff, what was that? A meat holder?
The meat jacket.
Meat jacket. Oh my gosh, you just made me skeeve again.
Good, then it's the exact right thing.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
It's exactly right. And it's so skeevy.
Yes. When you don't want to say it, it's bad.
It is definitely bad. Plus, Horsemen Publications, which is an amazing publishing house with over 500 titles and many more coming out. So definitely go visit them. And then finally, Annie's song, Dandelions, Dreams, and Dogs. There's going to be more, so make sure you read the first one. And to say that it is life-changing is not an exaggeration. This is absolutely a life-altering book. But also, please find her at the Right Review, and please take her advice and start writing some reviews because we are all a huge community here. Any place else that they can find you, Annie?
Oh, Annie McDonald, anything, the Right Review, anything, you can find me. But I wanted to say that I'm starting a newsletter that's going to come out starting September. So
Fantastic.
people can sign up for that and get the top 10
Oh, yes,
um,
yes.
top 10 book review ideas, and that'll be sent right to them. But I also wanted to give away one of the books,
Oh my
the
gosh.
marketing books, and
Oh.
one of Annie's songs.
Oh, fantastic. Oh my gosh, you're so generous.
And my dog back there.
I love him. I love him back there. He's so cute. I wouldn't let mine into the room while I'm filming because he would make a mess of this whole thing.
I couldn't do that.
I'm
with my
sorry.
two
I'm sorry.
either.
I can't help it.
He's so
No,
good.
because if I don't,
Mine would be like in
well,
my
you know why? Because I say mommy's going on TV, and they all disperse.
I gotta teach them that command. Mine's just a year old. I don't think he knows his name yet.
Yeah, he doesn't. That's cute.
And Erika, is there any place else that I missed where we could find you?
You can find me also on my podcast at drinkingwithauthors.com and eerietravels.com.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm loving Eerie Travels. I get scared very, very easily, so I'm not reading the Meat Jacket book. I have to admit that.
I went on
it just shows that not every book is for every audience, but
but
yes.
you can sell it to someone else.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. I am more than happy to promote it because I know without having to frighten myself by reading it, it's going to be damn good if it's by Erika Lance. That's for sure.
Thank you.
That
I did forget to mention one thing, if you don't mind.
Please.
The Well-Read magazine, I have a column there, and I interview an author or publisher or somebody with the Proust, a 10 of the Proust interview questions.
Wow.
And it's a lot of fun, and that's a great place for authors to advertise, get to know one another, and do different things there. And there's book reviews in there and everything. So I'm at Well-Read magazine as well.
Unbelievable. I'm so glad that the two of you found time to squeeze me in today. You're amazing. And I'm sure our paths will cross again. But in the meantime, for all of our viewers, please find Erika and Annie. You won't be sorry. And thanks for joining us between the covers.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank
you,
you.
Erika. It was nice to meet you both.